Hey, welcome in to Beardy's presentation. I'm calling it Bitcoin is for Everyone. I will try to synthesize the last 3 years of research and simplify for those of you who want to know more. I'll start with a chart that shows how your purchasing power has decreased over time. As you can see, your purchasing power is going down over time, effectively theft of your time and energy that you put in to earn those dollars. You'll see the dollar spiked when the US came off of the gold standard, as purchasing power flowed from gold to the US dollar, which was effectively money created out of thin air. A secondary title could be Fix the Money, Fix the World. I truly believe that. Bitcoin is a lot to take in at first. I'm going to try and break this down into bite-sized pieces, and I appreciate anyone who's open-minded enough to search for a solution to the money problem and create a better world. You see, our goal is to help others to find financial freedom so they can live a better life and become a financial blessing to themselves and those they love. I stole that from Ken Stanfield, whom I follow on YouTube. Why do we need Bitcoin in the first place? I'll take a first principles approach. Something is wrong with society, but you can't quite put your finger on it. Prices of things are going up. Feels like you're never going to get ahead. Is there something wrong with the money? Spoiler alert, there is. Society's broken. It's as polarized as ever. Everyone is yelling at each other, and that's if they are talking to each other at all. Some people won't speak to their own mother, their fathers, sons, and daughters, because who they voted for in the last election cycle. And to me, that's heartbreaking. If we could just get our person elected, that'll fix things. Problem isn't who is currently in office, folks, but the corrupt system we are trapped in. It's the system, not the people. Jeff Booth taught me we can't measure a system from within that very same system. Politics are always downstream of economics, not the other way around. That's why Bitcoiners say fix the money, fix the world. If there's corruption at the base layer of money, we end up with a few elite ruling class members that rule the world. Does that sound familiar? 80-year-old politicians running around, holding on, fighting tooth and nail to squeeze the last few drops out of the fiat system. Fiat is just the paper money that we use. It literally means by decree. You have to use it because I say so, with a military and guns to back that up. Some might say, but Beardy, Bitcoin is just too complicated. I'm never going to understand it. The inner workings of our current monetary system is far more complex than the average person realizes. You don't understand it. I don't understand it fully, even after studying it for 3 years. It's opaque, and that's by design. They don't want you to understand it. Henry Ford, whom invented the Model T, has a famous quote. It is well enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. In 1930, economist John Maynard Keynes had a famous quote as well. But beyond this, we shall endeavor to spread the bread thin on the butter to make what work there is still to be done as to be widely shared as possible. 3-hour shifts or a 15-hour week may put off the problem for a great while, for 3 hours a day is quite enough to satisfy old Adam in most of us. How many people work 15-hour work weeks these days? The reality is the wealth gap deepens. People work 2 to 3 jobs to pay their rent. People have given up hope of ever owning a home of their own. I'd like to share a chart of household savings. As you can see, it keeps trending down over time. The exception is the spike you see around 2020 from the COVID stimulus when they flooded the system with cash. Next, I'd like to show you a slide showing S-curves of technology adoption over time. Bitcoin is a technology being rapidly adopted, and we are still early. Is the issue that generations become lazier over time? I don't believe that. As I referenced earlier, it's a systemic issue with misaligned incentives. Our monetary system needs growth at all costs, so we print money out of thin air, causing inflation. Technology is deflationary by nature. Everything should be getting less expensive, quicker, and faster. That collides with our current inflationary growth at all costs approach. Enter fractional reserve banking. And I hate to break it to you, but your dollars deposited in your bank aren't there, and they never were. $1 deposited is magically cloned into $10. Now they loan that out to earn interest for themselves, but just not for you. Banking is a confidence game. If everyone withdraws their money all at once, the house of cards falls. So why do we stay in it? Is it Stockholm Syndrome? Have we become comfortable with our captors? If there was a better system, would you want to know it? Newsflash, there is a better system, and it's called Bitcoin. But now the hard part. Mansplaining to you, the people. In its simplest form, all it is a neutral, fair money. That's it. But I'm not just flapping my gums here. Bitcoin is for everyone. It's for your friends, your enemies. It has to be that way. It's for the political left, right, independents, human rights activists, environmentalists, the unbanked, saints, sinners, criminals, atheists, Christians, Muslims, all human beings. It's just a tool. People can use a tool for good or for bad. It's up to them. But one thing's for sure, it's absolutely scarce. With the supply cap of 21 million ever to be minted, it has all the properties of gold, but it's digital, and that enables us to send value over space and time within minutes for nearly zero cost. But there's no intrinsic value, some people will say. Compare it to the fiat money system, which is backed by nothing, since 1971, when we came off the gold standard. Personally, I don't think it should be backed by any kind of money. It is the money. It is tied to the real world through computers, using energy through a process called mining, where new coins are minted. The computers are competing to be the first to solve complex mathematical equations to secure a block reward occurring roughly every 10 minutes. The rewards incentivizes miners to secure the system. This strengthens the network, makes it less likely to have a 51% attack. Bitcoin is an open source, transparent ledger. Sorry, criminals, but the worst thing you could do is to put your crimes on the blockchain in this immutable ledger. The FBI hopes that you will. It'll make their jobs a heck of a lot easier. Think of the good old days when you would write a check. You wrote the entry on your end. The bank wrote down the matching entry on their end. Bitcoin is the same thing. It's a global ledger that timestamps these events, keeping record of who owns what in a decentralized manner from day one. In the very first block, Satoshi, the anonymous person or persons who created Bitcoin, inscribed, "Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks." Bitcoin was created in response to 2008 financial crisis. Jimmy Song said the most important thing that Satoshi ever did was to disappear. Satoshi mined 1 million Bitcoins in the early days to bootstrap Bitcoin and lock them up forever. Most likely, those will never move. A true gift to the world, as lost coins make all the other coins more valuable. There's no CEO, no central point of failure. It can't be shut down by governments. It can send value peer-to-peer with no middleman or woman. Would you want to play a game where someone changes the rules every time it's your turn? Bitcoin, being software, the rules of the game are set in stone with the protocol. It's a workaround for the sinful nature of us human beings. As humans, let's be honest, we are sinful bastards. It is a sly, roundabout way that takes money out of the hands of government that von Mises spoke of. 50% of the coins were issued in the first cycle, and every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin issued is cut in half, called the halvening or halving. We have one coming up roughly in April of 2024. It went from 12.5 Bitcoin per block reward, then to 6.25, and will be down to 3.125 for the next halving. It goes on down the line until roughly 2140 when the last Bitcoin is mined. Miners will make money with transaction fees still. Like clockwork, every 10 minutes, tick-tock, next block. Decentralized nodes around the world keep the ledger in sync, overseeing the miners. Everyone is incentivized to cooperate. It's an I win, you win kind of system. It's an apolitical money that changes politics, starting from the left to right. Let me explain. There's human rights activists, People are fleeing totalitarian regimes with their net worth intact, with 12 seed words memorized, their life work secured. It banks the unbanked, which is half the world. Yes, there actually are more countries than just the USA. It took me a long time to realize this. Remittance payments can be sent instantly and nearly free. No more 30% cut for Western Union. Sorry about it, bruh. Energy is the best piece of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that Bitcoin has to overcome. But I think we will. We have a hero in the space called D.S. Batten. He does peer-reviewed research and explains environmental benefits. One of the biggest misconceptions is that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. It's actually a net good for the environment. It's the number one industry for renewable energy, around 53 to 56% currently, according to the Bitcoin Mining Council, Sailor.org, and Hope.com, with a goal of one day making education free for all. Miners search for the cheapest energy and stranded energy. It makes jobs for local communities. It stabilizes grids. It can be turned off or on at a moment's notice. If we are to electrify the grid, we need it to use more energy, not less. Some mining even use flared methane, taking methane out of the atmosphere, which is worse than carbon. Also remember, energy use does not equate to emissions. Plus, do you really want the government being an arbiter of what is good versus bad energy? With their track record, I don't think so. There is also potential to mine with nuclear energy. Censorship resistance. Bitcoin cancels cancel culture. No one can keep you from participating. It instills property rights for 8 billion people, but it is essential to learn how to custody it properly. It truly is freedom money. Christians. In Bitcoin, you have to sow the seeds before you reap the benefits, which we call proof of work. Currently, there is no cost to printing money out of thin air. Given the chance to print money out of thin air, humans will do that every time. The US gets to print the money and get real-world resources like gas, food, computer chips, you name it. We get to export our inflation to the rest of the world. And that's dishonest. Inflation is theft, and thou shalt not steal. As Jeff Booth asks, why is 2% inflation required for a thriving economy? I would say, it's not. Muslims. Bitcoin is halal. Islam prohibits interest as well as scams. USD is a system of debt. Wealth concentrates into the hands of a few, at the expense of everyone else. Bitcoin is issued in a fair and transparent way, without violence. We call it a peaceful revolution. So, why is change so hard? Think of the car replacing the horse and buggy. They tried to stop it. Netflix versus Blockbuster. Do you see any Blockbuster stores out there today? Email versus the postal system. They tried to hold internet service providers accountable and responsible for every email sent in the early 1990s, much like the erroneous legislation we see today. Ferdinand Foch, a French general and military theorist, served as the supreme Allied commander during World War I, and his quote is, "Airplanes are interesting toys, but of no military value. Airplanes won World War II, so let's not Foch this up." To wrap things up, Bitcoin has given me hope for the future, and I see it in others also. I see people getting interested in health and fitness, changing their diets, getting in touch with spirituality, reconsidering Christianity. I was an angry and bitter person. I didn't have much hope. I was burned out by the current system. Bitcoin breaks the cycle, right versus left political deadlock. They are trying to politicize Bitcoin, but it won't work. They want to distract us and keep us fighting with each other, but hey, I'm a lover, not a fighter. 8 billion people can't fit into one of two boxes. When I saw how corrupt the money was, I saw it in other industries. Healthcare, insurance, food, big pharma. The USA is one of only 2 countries that can actually advertise for their medications. Bitcoin brings the power back to the individual, restores property rights, but most importantly, gives us back our time. For me personally, that's what it's all about. I set off 3 years ago to get out of the rat race, and I hope everyone else can as well. The only thing more finite than Bitcoin is our time on this earth. There's other good resources to look into if you're interested, such as Sailor.org, Hope.com, BlueCollarBitcoin.io. And thank you so much for listening. I love you all. Beardy out. Now it's time for me to liquidate my shorts.